What if everything you've been told about getting your child ahead is quietly working against them? You're doing all the right things. The educational apps, the early reading programs, music lessons at 2, and yet your child still can't sit through a meal, still melts down over small frustrations, still seems restless, distracted, somehow behind. Though you can't even name behind in what. What if the issue isn't what you're missing, but what you're overloading? In Japan, formal academics don't begin until age 6 or 7. The preschool years are protected, no drills, no pressure, no performance anxiety, and by first grade, children can regulate themselves, focus through a 45-minute lesson, and manage emotions without constant correction. The difference isn't early instruction. It's early protection. And if you're feeling the pressure before your child is even born, the brain-boosting playlists, milestone charts that make every month feel like a pass-fail exam, you're not alone. There's this unspoken message everywhere: install intelligence early or fall behind forever. So play becomes lesson time. Silence feels like wasted potential. And both you and your child end up exhausted and overstimulated. But here's the truth, no one says loudly enough. More stimulation does not build a smarter brain. The wrong kind fractures attention, dysregulates the nervous system, and confuses busyness with growth. Real intelligence, the kind that lasts, begins with brain readiness, something that can't be rushed or purchased, only protected. Think of a house. You cannot build the second floor while the foundation is unstable. A child's brain develops the same way, brainstem first, then the emotional centers, and only years later the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and focus. If the nervous system is overwhelmed, chronically stressed, overstimulated, underrested, the brain remains in survival mode. And a brain in survival mode cannot learn. It can only react. Japanese early education has long centered on what they call kokoro no aiku, the education of the heart, prioritizing safety, regulation, and trust before academics. For the first 5 to 6 years, the foundation is built not through flashcards but through rhythms of daily life that quietly prepare the brain to learn. Sleep is sacred because it is when the brain prunes, consolidates, restores, and strengthens attention. In Japan, practices like soin emphasize emotional security at night, lowering stress and reinforcing regulation. Nature is non-negotiable, rain or shine, because outdoor movement lowers cortisol, restores attention, and strengthens executive pathways without a single worksheet. Screens are delayed and intentional, understood not as evil but as replacements for face-to-face interaction, movement, and responsive conversation, the very experiences that wire language and focus. Movement is constant because the body teaches the brain. Vestibular and cerebellar activation through climbing, balancing, and walking strengthens attention itself. Sensory play, clay, water, sand, fabric integrates both hemispheres and builds tolerance for complexity, the seed of resilience. And perhaps most overlooked, conversation real, back-and-forth presence becomes cognitive fuel, with each exchange strengthening neural architecture for empathy, planning, and regulation. And then there is responsibility, the quiet force almost no one talks about. In Japan, even 3-year-olds set tables, clean up, help younger children, and are trusted with meaningful tasks, not as chores, but as citizenship. Responsibility builds executive function because it requires planning, memory, follow-through, and self-control. It tells a child, you matter here. You are capable. You are essential. So if your child seems behind, Pause before adding more. Ask, instead, is their foundation secure? Are they rested, regulated, connected, moving, exploring, contributing? You are not behind. You may simply be focusing where it doesn't count yet. Protect the nervous system first. Protect sleep, nature, movement, conversation, responsibility. Because when the foundation is strong, learning doesn't have to be forced, it rises naturally. And that might be the most powerful head start of all. What if the very thing you think is helping your child succeed is quietly holding them back? Before anything meaningful can happen, a child has to plan what comes first. Sequence the steps, regulate frustration when something fails, and problem solve when the first attempt doesn't work. Those are the exact cognitive muscles school will later demand: focus, planning, persistence, flexibility. Yet here's what many Western parents unintentionally miss: when we hover, rush in, or do everything ourselves because it's quicker or cleaner, we're not protecting our children, we're robbing them of competence. And without competence, there is no confidence. Without confidence, there is no courage to attempt hard things. And without hard things, there is no growth. Japanese parenting is deeply rooted in the idea of ganbaru, persevering through difficulty. But perseverance only thrives in security. That's why children are raised with high warmth and high expectations, freedom within structure, autonomy within boundaries, and responsibility that grows with ability. The embedded message is powerful. You are capable, you matter, your contribution has value. So start small. Let them pour the water, even if it spills. Let them dress themselves, even if it takes longer. Let them wrestle with a problem before you offer the solution. Trying and failing strengthens neural pathways in ways effortless success never can. Competence grows from being trusted, and intelligence follows competence like a shadow. Now here's the part that challenges everything you've been told. Japanese children attend preschool at 3 or 4, yet formal academics often wait until 6 or 7. No phonics drills at 4. No worksheets in preschool. And still, students in Japan consistently rank among the top globally in math and science, outperforming peers who began academics years earlier. Why? Because brain maturity outperforms early drilling every time. A regulated 6-year-old who has slept deeply, moved freely, built confidence through responsibility, and felt emotionally secure can learn to read in months. An anxious 4-year-old pushed before readiness may struggle for years and worse, may associate learning with shame and pressure. The foundation determines the trajectory. And I know the fear that rises in your chest. What if my child falls behind? The truth few say aloud is this: children pushed too early often burn out later. By 3rd or 4th grade, motivation fades because it was built on external pressure, not internal drive. Meanwhile, the child who spent early years building regulation, curiosity, and resilience is just beginning to accelerate. The question shifts from, does my 5-year-old know the alphabet? To, is my child calm? Can they persist? Do they feel safe enough to be curious? Those are the predictors of lifelong success. Calm cannot be rushed, it must be cultivated. So here's your permission slip. You do not need to optimize every hour. You do not need the newest app, the smartest toy, or the most advanced class. Your child's brain is not a product to engineer. It's a garden to tend. Gardens do not bloom on command. They grow with steady care. Protect sleep. Protect movement. Protect time in nature. Protect connection, responsibility, and trust. These are not luxuries. They are the essentials. They cost little, require no credentials, and demand only your presence and patience. Intelligence is not something you install like software. It emerges when the nervous system feels safe enough to explore, when the body has moved, when the mind has rested. Generations of Japanese parents understood this long before neuroscience confirmed it. If you remember nothing else, remember this: your child does not need more, they need the right conditions. The focused child who sits through a 45-minute lesson is not necessarily gifted. They are regulated. And regulation creates readiness. That readiness could belong to your child too. Not because you added more, but because you protected what mattered most.